you're here already. My name is Matt. Nice to see you. Welcome to Martial Madness, an insight into themes of religious violence in modern martial arts cinema. Today, we're going to have 3 experts analyze 3 different movies for us: Ong Bak, The Forbidden Kingdom, and Enter the Dragon. Each of these movies will be analyzed by 3 themes: the portrayals of religious violence through the warrior saint mentality. We're going to also look at the references back to original Eastern philosophical teachings, as well as the theme of self-loss within all 3 of these movies. Hope you enjoy. You're gonna get a kick out of this. Come on, let's go. In the rural village of Nong Pradut in Thailand, a gangster named Don, shown here, comes from Bangkok to steal something from the village. That is, their deity's head, called Ong Bak, who protects the village. It's a Buddha statue. Ting, a hero from the village, sets out to Bangkok to retrieve the head from the gangsters and bring the village back to harmony. While in Bangkok, he meets George, who is from his village and is named Humle, as well as this other girl who is completely unimportant. All 3 of them set out to retrieve the head and bring it back to Nong Pradut. While in Bangkok, and all throughout the movie, Ting beats up a lot of people, and when I say that, I mean a lot of people, but, as you can see, he does it with a lot of style. This is our villain. He's in a wheelchair and uses a voice box thing. What he does is he steals old Buddhist artifacts, hides them underwater, and then sells them for a profit. You can definitely see the religious overtones. Not necessarily here, but this is just him beating up a lot of people. Oh yeah, the old dude dies, and then they get the head, and everything's fine. And that brings us to the end of the movie.
Fuck Muay Thai!
So once again, we see a warrior saint image being portrayed through Ting, who is the protagonist in this movie. The dichotomy between Ting and his opponent is evident. Ting is dressed in all white, showing his goodness and purity of motivation. His opponent is dressed in all black, representing his bad and impure motives. Ting's violence is for his people and for his religion. He's not fighting selfishly. His fight is selfless, therefore his violence is good and justifiable. His opponent is fighting for money for himself, which is a selfish motive, therefore his violence is bad. This movie is communicating, obviously, that violence in and of itself is not good or bad, your motivation is. And so Ting uses it for good, therefore he's representing the warrior saint.
I'm here, come on! What, you scared? Let's go! Come on! Go! What are you waiting for?
มีอะไรอ่ะพี่ยอด
ไอ้บิ๊กแบร์เนี่ยท้ายทิ้งชก
Come and fight me! Come on! Thai boxing's good on stage. You should try freestyle. You won't beat me. Thai people are not strong enough. That's why Thai women come to my country to become hookers. Come on! I'll show you. Come on. Yeah! เห็นมาก่อนปะ
กูไม่เห็นกูเห็นแต่ไอ้คนไทยกำลังโดนซ้อมอ่ะมึงมันขี้ขาดมึงจะช่วยมันไหมเนี่ยจะไม่ช่วยมันตายนะ
Come on! Come on!
Neck fight Big Ben and ทิ้งมาดูพิว
So Ting has obviously been trained in traditional martial arts that draw on the original Buddhist teachings. For example, the idea that there's no enemy. Ting understands this and refuses to fight an underground ring for money, which would be a selfish motive and set him against his opponent. He also refuses because he doesn't fight for gain or loss and is not concerned with strength or weakness. The only time that Ting will agree to step into the ring is to save another person's life, because here he uses the sword and gives others life, and also when it is necessary to kill, he kills, and when it is necessary to give life, he gives life. So Ting is able to discriminate because of his teachings when it is right to fight, for example, to save the Ong Bak head, and when it is wrong. So he, without looking at right and wrong, is able to see right and wrong.
I won't sell you the amulet, Don. It's for when Humley becomes a monk.
เล่นกับกูมึงรู้ใจป่ะเนี่ยฮะชิบหายถ้ามึงแข่งเก่งเหมือนปากนะมึงคงไม่แพ้กูหรอก
I don't know you, country boy. My name is George, not Humley. I'm from Bangkok. George, this is a letter from your dad. I really want you to come back from Nong Purdue and become a monk, not stay in Bangkok.
เอาลุงแทงเลยลุงอายุปูนนี้แล้วน่าจะอยู่เฝ้าลูกเฝ้าหลาน
No, Humley, you're dying. Don't die. I am dying. No, please, Humley, don't die. Tell my dad I wanted to be a monk.
So as you can clearly see, we see George fighting this internal struggle between both his Western life and his Buddhist roots. Towards the end of the movie, we see that he sacrifices his life to save Ting. His sacrifice is representing both a physical and a figurative form of self-loss. When he gives up his life to save Ting, he's sacrificing his life as well as sacrificing his bad boy Western lifestyle. And this is very similar to the formation of the Khalsa when these 5 individuals were asked to sacrifice both physically their life as well as their personal social life.
The Forbidden Kingdom is about a boy named Jason who practices the martial arts. He gets picked on for this, however, and the bullies coerce him into letting them into his martial arts teacher's store. The bullies shoot his teacher. While dying, his teacher gives Jason some select instructions to return this staff to the person who owns it. After this, after witnessing the murder, Jason is chased by the bullies, falls off a building, and wakes up in ancient China. While there, he meets a practitioner of the drunken style of Kung Fu named Lu Yun, played here by Jackie Chan. He notices that Jason is carrying the staff of the Monkey King. The Monkey King is a legendary fighter who fought off people for years trying to stop the invasion of the Jade Army, led by their evil warlord. After a long battle, the warlord threw away the Monkey King's staff and turned the Monkey King into stone, causing the nation to fall into chaos and turmoil. Jason also meets up with Golden Sparrow, a girl that later becomes a love interest. He also meets up with the Silent Monk, who, after a long fight scene with Lu Yun, eventually becomes friends as they realize they have a common goal in returning the staff to the Monkey King. The two proceed to teach Jason martial arts, which is a big struggle, although Jason later loses his pride and learns. Jackie Chan becomes very ill, which is important later in the movie. In order to return Jackie Chan to full health, Lu Yun, Jason must fight the witch, who works for the warlord. In this long battle, everybody comes together to fight, and in the end, the Monkey King is freed by Jason with his staff. The Monkey King continues to fight with Jason, Lu Yun, Sparrow, and the Silent Monk in order to defeat the warlord. They toss him into the lava, and everything is good. Jason eventually wakes back up in the real world, knows a ton of kung fu, and is able to beat the bullies up and live a happy life.
Here we see Jason rise in status from a young kid in Boston getting beat up to saving this huge Jade Kingdom. He starts learning martial arts with no real intention, which is a very secular way to begin studying martial arts. And then, as he begins to have a real motivation and real intention for his fighting, as he's fighting for his kingdom, we see him become amazing at this martial arts, and his violence is justified in that. And therefore, we see him become a hero, saving the kingdom, a warrior saint.
This movie is more clearly creative for Western audiences because there's not as obvious of an emphasis on the original Buddhist and Taoist teachings behind the martial arts that Jason is learning. He does undergo a transformation during the film as he progresses through his journey to become a real martial artist and save the Jade Kingdom, but the feeling that he really gets it is just that. It's a feeling, rather than the explicit explanations that are given in the other two films, which directly reference the original philosophies that shaped martial arts.
Swing soft, hand hard, at the same time. It's terrible.
I've been your weed whacker for 2 days now, while you sit on your horse like the King of England. When are you gonna teach me Kung Fu? The cup's full. Stop, it's full.
Exactly. How can you fill your cup if already full? How can you learn Kung Fu? You already know so much. No shadow kick, put upon. Empty your cup. Hopeless. It is hopeless. Hey. First rule, show respect to your teachers.
What if I freeze?
Don't forget to breathe.
So as you can clearly see, Jason is the main character in the movie, and he is, I guess you could say, the chosen one who has to fulfill the prophecy to release the Monkey King. But early on, we see that he's having a hard time grasping the thought and the methods of martial arts, and that's due to his massive ego and him being a know-it-all. But we can see in this clip that when he gives up his ego, when he sacrifices his ego, then he's able to obtain that level of martial arts status. And that is a key concept of self-loss.
Enter the Dragon is a film about Lee, a Shaolin monk. Lee meets with this British dude who tells him about a former Shaolin monk named Dr. Han, who they suspect is up to no good on his private island, where he may be injecting young women with heroin and forcing them to prostitute for money. Dr. Han hosts a martial arts tournament at his martial arts school at his private island, where martial artists from all over the world, such as Roper in the previous clip, and Williams in this clip, get together and fight for a cash prize at the end of the tournament. They travel by boat to reach Dr. Han's island, all of these martial artists from around the world. They arrive to his martial arts school, and Lee begins his investigation into Dr. Han. There's a lot of fight scenes, and they're all pretty awesome. This movie is from 1973, and is one of the most iconic films from the 70s martial arts flick era. Lee snoops around the grounds, looking for evidence of Dr. Han's wrongdoing. This creates some turmoil on the island, and in process, Lee has to kill some people, many of them in very dramatic fashion. So, eventually, Lee does enough snooping to find the evidence that he needs that Dr. Han is up to no good. He eventually confronts Dr. Han about this, and, of course, there's a very, very dramatic fight at the end. Eventually, Lee gets the best of Dr. Han and kills him. British reinforcements eventually arrive on the island, and, as Bruce Lee will soon tell us, everything ends up A-OK.
For centuries now, the code of the Shaolin Temple has been preserved. Remember, the honor of our brotherhood has been held true. I'm ashamed to tell you now, among all the Shaolin men I have taught, there is one who has turned the ways of knowledge and strength to his own base ends. He has perverted all we hold sacred. His name is Han. In defiance of all our beliefs, he has brought disgrace to the Shaolin Temple. So, it is now for you to reclaim our lost honor.
Alright, so in this clip we see Lee being represented as the warrior saint because he takes good responsibility for his actions and he has pure motivations. Therefore, he is honorable. And then the teacher mentions this other guy named Han, and even saying his name brings the teacher great shame because his violence has selfish motivations and therefore is shameful. And so Lee is showing that warrior saint by having pure motivations.
I see your talents have gone beyond the mere physical level. Your skills are now at the point of spiritual insight. I have several questions. What is the highest technique you hope to achieve?
To have no technique.
Very good.
对吧? Bother yet?
Don't waste yourself.
What's your style?
My style? You can call it the art of fighting without fighting.
The art of fighting without fighting?
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
In this scene, we see that Lee shows his understanding of the original Buddhist and Taoist teachings when he explains that the best technique is to have no technique, and that his style of fighting is the art of fighting without fighting. This is in direct reference to the philosophies of Buddhist and Taoist-inspired martial arts, which are full of such ideas that are seemingly contradictory. Lee also understands the idea that the enemy is just an illusion, because the enemy cannot see me and I cannot see him. And the illusion is something that must be broken. He shows us in a mirror scene by literally shattering the image of the enemy by breaking all of the mirrors.
What are your thoughts when facing an opponent?
There is no opponent.
And why is that?
Because the word I does not exist. Not thinking, yet not dreaming. Ready for whatever may come. When the opponent expands, I contract. When he contracts, I expand. And when there is an opportunity, I do not hit. It hits all by itself.
No.
In this scene, we see the concept of self-loss or ego loss when Lee states that there is no I in my vocabulary. We also see this statement
that the opponent does not exist either. And this idea of neither the I nor the opponent existing is a key component of the idea of self-loss.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed our documentary. Join us next time for Finding the Treasure, Representations of Satanism in Dora the Explorer. Stay classy, Ann Arbor.